Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Midnight McBride Show, episode number 33. And I've called this show Change Vibration Movement. And that's because I've got the founder of Change Vibration Movement on the show, Rebecca Scarlet Davies. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Patrick.
Hi, welcome onto the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're looking wonderful with your headdress, would you call it? Yes.
My Indonesian headdress.
Right, okay, which is somewhere you've been. Yeah. So we've a lot to talk about, Rebecca.
We do.
I didn't realise how much we had to talk about from the initial show notes, but we've had a pre-show chat and we've been through everything with a special visitor in the studio today, Lynnette.
Yes.
So, hello, Lynnette. Go and say hello.
Hello.
Hello. I don't know whether that'll pick you up or not. But. So in the pre-show chat, we talked about other things that I didn't realise, and we've got quite a lot I want to talk about. So, first of all, on your Facebook page, your business page, you describe yourself as a sonic gypsy.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that's because you're all about sound.
Yes.
And also because you can't stay still for very long because you've travelled the world, haven't you?
Yes, I have. And I've been back in England for the past 2 years, and it's probably the longest place I've been for several years now.
Well, I love travelling. I think as human beings, we weren't meant to stay in one place. We were born.
I agree. We were nomadic.
Yeah, I liken it to a ship that's moored in the docks where the ropes are tied, and you have to let go of your past and in order to move forward. And I think we were meant to explore, have new experiences, meet new people, do new things, see new places.
Yes, totally. And I feel that if we stay in the same place, life can become stagnant. We become accustomed to what we're seeing, and then we can not appreciate it as much as when we're moving. We have new experiences and different environments and different people.
Yeah,
that's
different
where we
cultures
learn and grow the most.
Yeah, I don't think we were ever meant to live in a box. You know, I know.
No.
Generally, people get a house.
We've just been
and,
programmed to think that we are.
And surround ourselves with walls and close the doors and live in fear and lock those doors. And as human beings, life has so much to offer, but we have to, step outside our comfort zone sometimes, which is what you did, and go see.
Yeah.
Go see.
Check it out.
Tell us a little bit about Change Vibration Movement and what is it? I know it's about sound, frequency, vibration. Tell us a little bit about it.
So Change Vibration Movement is about sharing different ways to change your own vibration. So I hold sound meditation journeys, which have become kind of like a therapy, really. Yeah. So it's for people to come and experience meditation, but sound-induced meditation. Right. So I use the Himalayan singing bowls to do this. I use a gong and a hand drum as well.
A lot like a sound bath.
Yes, they're called sound baths, which people think are actually in baths, but it's actually the sound. The sound is bathing your body. It's like a sound massage. Yeah. And the sound actually touches us on a cellular level. So it vibrates the body because every single organ has a different vibration. The chakras have vibrations. We're made of so many vibrations. And our vibrations in this present day can become off. So the sound helps to retune. I also use tuning forks as well. The harmonic spectrum, which are the frequencies of the chakras. So it's using sound to retune the mind and the body. Yeah.
Wonderful. I'd been to a number of sound baths and gong baths initially and then sound baths. And I experienced, the first time I did it, it was emotional. Yeah. Very emotional. And what I learned is, for example, the gong, they all had different names, these gongs. And when you hit the gong, it emits a sound. But the sound is very powerful and you can feel the sound waves and it resonates with different parts of your body. And I've seen a lot of people at the end of a sound bath crying. And these aren't tears of, stress or trauma. These are tears of happiness because I believe you can get to a certain point where you've meditated and you've done yoga and you've been on courses and you've tried everything. And sometimes when you just can't get that trapped energy out, the gongs force it out of you. Yeah. They'll make you might be your liver vibrate or your shoulder vibrate or something. It'll match a frequency of certain parts of your body and it'll release this trapped stress or trauma. And just like having a bottle maybe bubbles trapped under sea or bubbles trapped underwater, and then you shake it, move it around, and it releases it. Yeah, I know it's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, it really is. And from my readings after I began my journey with the Himalayan singing bowls, I discovered in some of the readings that writings that actually sound, they say, awakens a star inside of your being. And that, like you just explained, it brings out emotion.
Yeah.
It affects all the water, all of the bloods in our bodies. It affects the brain waves. And sound affects our hormones as well. Like when we hear music that's sad or happy, it changes how we feel. So I believe sound has more power than we realize. And it's been used for thousands and thousands of years for meditation, for healing, and it's an ancient practice that hasn't been so known about in the West, but since the 60s, when people traveled over to the East, they've brought these amazing instruments back with them, and now it's becoming fashionable, should we say.
So it sounds very powerful, and it can affect the material world. And just to give a simple example, an opera singer can match the frequency of a glass, resonate with that glass, and break that glass.
Well, yeah, that's a really great example, and I'll show you with the water in the bowl later on. But like I said, everything has a frequency, a vibration, and if you reach a frequency of what it is, it can smash, it resonates. Also, we don't want to vibrate the body to the point where they can actually liquefy the body inside the internal organs. You've heard of brown noise, white noise, which can make the body lose control of all the muscles and can be a bit full on. But so what we're doing when we're using sound as a healing tool is we're just resonating the organs, realigning the hemispheres of the brain because we're left brain dominant, putting these hemispheres back to the balanced state that they should be in for ultimate well-being.
Yeah, it's actually proven scientifically. I read research on this, that sound is one of the few things that can allow the brain to work in harmony with the left and the right side of the brain. I mean, I went in a flotation tank years ago and switched off the left side, the logic, and the right side took over. And it was, I mean, we won't go into it now, but an amazing experience. I write about it, so... Sound can do lots of things.
Yeah, sound is like binaural beats, for instance.
Yeah, listen to those.
So it's two different frequencies in each ear that the brain creates a third harmonic, which then aligns the hemispheres. So I always suggest people to listen to that because it really helps with anxiety, stress, just to calm the whole being just through the sound. And I actually advised my stepmother to use that when she had an operation. And the nurse couldn't find her pulse at the end. She didn't feel anything. She felt she was floating. So, like, they've demonstrated operations can be done if the mind doesn't realize it doesn't feel it in the body. So the mind is so powerful, and you can do that with sound also.
So we're going to rewind it back.
Yes.
And we're going to start right at the beginning. And you're from Liverpool.
Yes.
And which part of Liverpool
from
are you
Waltham.
From Waltham.
Yeah,
okay.
From the football area, I'd probably say. Not far from Anfield, and Goodison was at the top of the road of my school. So. And
what I found was quite fun in your notes that you used to dance at Garland's.
Yes, I did.
Because I used to go to Garland's and the 051 and Quadrant Park. I don't know if you remember that. Another club. That was rough.
Yeah.
But the 051...
The 051 was a bit rough too, huh?
A little bit, yeah. Garland's was more... There was a lot of transvestite DJs, a lot more liberal, a lot more fun.
Yeah.
It was a much nicer environment, I think, And
so
the music, I loved the music.
The music was the best. So I first started going to Garland's when I was about 18. And my friends and I had started going to Matthew Street, going out when we were younger. And we found it to be very aggressive. Lots of males being inappropriate. So we felt a bit threatened, and we found our way to Garland's. And I remember the first time we went there on Halloween, and we had the most amazing night together. We felt so comfortable. We were totally accepted in. Everyone was dressed up, and it was just so free. It was kind of, imagine how it was like in the 60s, in America.
Well, I remember the first time I went, we're all having ecstasy. We're all
Yes.
eat up. And we were going to the 051, and for whatever reason, we went to Garland's instead. And this was my first time. And there was a 22 stone guy in a dress DJing. I thought,
Yeah, that's my friend Silk Trey.
and I thought, yes, this is my kind of place.
With a phone. She used to have a phone. She'd go, Silk Tray, DJ. And then she'd always rewind the music back.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, that was, whoever that is.
Trilo as well, she's called herself.
That DJ was the very first night I went, and I straight away.
In the boudoir.
Yeah, straight away I thought, yeah, I'm all over this. I love this, because I felt relaxed.
Yeah, and it was like down a little bit like a dark alleyway, really, and then it was. Yeah. You went inside. It was a magical, sparkly, glittery disco ball.
Quadrant Park used to be. It was just like a big warehouse. Mm-hmm. Just a big steel frame building with 10,000 people in it. Yeah. Garland's was small rooms leading off to one another. Much smaller club, more intimate. Yes. And a nicer environment.
And we used to spend 5 hours on the Saturday daytime decorating it when I went on to work for them. And we had 1,500 balloons. We used to have Betty dolls, like Barbie dolls hung from the ceiling, and every week was a different theme. So all the decor reflected this, as well as all the dancers' outfits as well. So it was very creative. And Marky J and Sian and Silk Tray, all the founding people who put their energies into it. They were the creative force behind it.
What are they all doing now?
Silk Tray owns Superstar Boudoir. Sian.
What's that?
Superstar Boudoir, when Silk Tray left Garland's, she set up her own club, and it's Superstar Boudoir. It's in the gay quarter, I want to say, of Liverpool now, because now there's a quarter. It's
closed at the minute. Probably,
I think so, yeah. And now, it's a beautiful, just a small venue with little booths and a dance floor, and she DJs there still.
Right. I'm going to go.
Yeah, she's fantastic. You should definitely go.
Yeah. Still very large in a dress.
Fabulous.
Okay, fabulous.
Yeah, fabulous. Yeah. And Sian works in the Lisbon, and she was doing tranny bingo. Mm-hmm. So she's still been active, and in G-Bar as well. So,
awesome.
Still going strong.
Now, in the pre-show chat, you said you were okay to talk about most things, which is good. I like that, because I want to have some honest and open chats. I think that in order for other people to be comfortable with certain things, somebody's got to go first. So we'll talk about anything, and then people think, oh, it's not just me, I'm not the only one. And we open the doors of communication and start that conversation. So you're okay to talk about drugs.
Yes, yes.
You smoked marijuana initially. Yes. And then you experimented with psychedelics as well. Now, within that bracket, psychedelics, what does that include?
Well, the first thing I probably explored was with LSD.
Yeah. I mean, before we started taking E's, when I was sort of 15, 16-year-old, I was throwing trips down my neck for fun. They were,
Yeah. So it kind of all happened really when I stepped into Garland's. I was introduced because I was found in the gay clubs. Like, they have the best drugs as well as the best music and good quality. There's good quality things there. So we started exploring with ecstasy, which was incredible, and I really loved the euphoric feeling that I experienced in ecstasy. But I wanted more. I expected more, and I thought, what else is there? So when I first took LSD, I realized, this is a different reality, and it's magical. It's what I was looking for, and I felt at home there. I felt like everything kind of made more sense, like it was a communication with the higher consciousness.
We're not encouraging or advising anybody to take drugs at all. We're just talking about things we've done in the past, which is healthy, so that we can see how we arrived in this present moment. But we're not encouraging or telling anybody to take drugs.
At the time, I thought, everyone seemed to paint it as like a bad thing to do, dirty thing to do. It was wrong, breaking it is against the law. And at the time I was young, I didn't understand. But now, over 20 years later, I realised that there's reasons why it's against the law. And actually it was the best thing I ever did, because it blew my mind open to the other realm, to other realms that do exist. And it's affected my work today. What I do with the sound baths and the sound journeys and the magical places I take to people is from these experiences.
A lot of the spiritual people that I encounter that maybe come on the show or do the radio with me, these people took hallucinogenics at some point on the journey, whether it's ayahuasca, whether it's LSD, whether it's psilocybin. It can be, there's lots of different avenues, but when you see somebody wearing a headdress with sound bowls next to them and that look generally happy,
been a trip.
Quite often on that journey, hallucinogenics are part of it, even if it's only briefly to open the doors.
Exactly, I totally agree.
We've talked about this on the show before, and anybody that takes a drug, for example, cocaine, there are no real positives to cocaine.
No.
It's a negative drug, and I've taken massive piles of it. And cocaine is quite destructive, and certainly at the latter stages of taking it, it can destroy lives.
Yes.
There are no positive sides. It's not really, although originally it may come from a plant, by the time they finish messing about with it, it's not really a plant medicine, and it can destroy lives.
It's very different in Peru and Colombia, I must say.
Yes.
But to what we experience here.
Then you've got other what are classed as drugs like mushrooms and ayahuasca and these kind of things that are plant medicines that I don't see as even drugs at all. However, the point I'm going to make is that irrelevant of what it is you put in your body, it should be your sovereign right to put what you want in your body. You are not a criminal. You may be doing harm to yourself. You may be making some bad choices. You may just be having some fun, and you may be taking plant medicine or microdosing to relieve stress and anxiety and trauma. Either way, any combination of that, whether it's good or bad for you, it still shouldn't be illegal. I do not view that as a criminal act.
Yes.
You know, if you're putting drugs in your body, you're not a criminal. You might be a fool. You might be making some bad choices, or you might be making some good choices, but you're not a criminal. You know, I think that, I find it crazy. You know, and to ban plants, to make a mushroom illegal seems crazy to me. However, that's the situation, so I'm not encouraging anybody to do that, but I've taken them and I'm quite happy about that, you know. Cocaine, very different story, very destructive story, and my life went downhill. Mushrooms I've taken, and I wake up in the morning, there's no come down, there's no bad side effects, and certainly if you're microdosing, fantastic for removing stress and anxiety.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
And I think the powers that shouldn't be don't want people whose minds are blown open.
They want you to drink a lot of coffee and go and make as much money as you can and pay as much tax as you can. You don't want you to sit back and think, do you know what, I'm going to just be and think and see everything as it really is.
Exactly.
You in the show mentioned about 2015 in California with mushrooms, and we thought we'd maybe just discuss that.
Yeah, so when I took some mushrooms in California, I took probably a little bit more than I should have done because I didn't realize the power of them, and I took a lot, which turned out to be a good thing. So I took these mushrooms, and it was on Halloween. We had an amazing experience. We were up in the mountains, in the Trinity Mountains in California. It was
Sounds
amazing.
like a nice setting if you're going to do that.
Yeah, with the fire and the open sky, and it was magical. Anyway, I went to sleep eventually, and the following morning, it was the following day actually, when I went to sleep that evening, I was sleeping in a tent, and a raindrop actually fell on the tent from the trees above. And as I was just falling into sleep, the raindrop fell into the tent, and I actually saw it like a firework explosion when my eyes were closed. And it was as if I didn't just see it, but I felt the vibration of it go through my whole body. You know, when you do the fall asleep thing and you go, as if you're pulling out of your body. It was like that. And my partner was next to me, and I gave him a small heart attack. And I tried to explain what had happened, and he was just like, just go back to sleep. So anyway, then,
I can see sound. No, you're just tripping, love.
No, and I was like, then it happened again, and just went right through me, big. And then since that night, it happens all the time. And in fact, it's got more detailed. What I see is like a fractal pattern. It changes color. It comes from different angles. As I'm just going into rested state, any slight noise that I hear, I will see the physical vibration of it in an image with eyes closed.
See, you know, a lot of savants, when they do advanced mathematics in the head, or there's only a few people that can actually draw accurately fractals. You know, they use computers to do it normally, but savants, these are geniuses, people that are off the chart with their intelligence. They can do mathematics, and they don't do it by, long division or using these. They see the numbers and they're displayed in patterns and colours, and that's how it's done.
It's fantastic. So I did do some research on it, and it turns out that it's a form of synesthesia, which children, at the moment, a lot of children are being born with, and they can see it with their eyes open, see sounds, and they taste the sounds as well. From my research on a blind man who could see sound, the V1 and V4, different parts of the brain which normally don't talk, the neural pathways have now communicated, which I believe is due to the mushrooms. Which would make sense. Yeah. Here's the science part. Yeah.
So continuing talking about sound, and you've had the doors burst open with psilocybin, I imagine, with the mushrooms. You actually previously studied sound. You went to college, didn't you? Yeah. And you were also a DJ.
Yeah. So I studied DJing at Hard City Records, and then I went on to LIPA to study music production. Yeah. And it was here that one of my teachers actually spoke to me and explained the power of sound during a microphone lesson. Yeah. He said that in the army, they actually have ships with holes in the bottom. And what they do is they beam different frequencies from one side, from the whole circle across to create a field, a grid that keeps the water out. And I was 21, and that just absolutely blew my mind. I couldn't understand how that could be possible. I mean, it was wild out there. Anyway, I kept that with me, and then I went on and I studied engineering at SE Institute, and then down to London, carried on, worked in Omniphone for a digital music company.
So that's like Spotify.
Yeah, so we designed an app, it was called Music Station, and we launched in Sweden, South Africa, Hong Kong in 2007. So I got to witness the digital revolution, really. So we worked with the major record labels. We had all the catalogs, and this was when we were listening to music in a very different way as we do now. And I remember having it on my phone as I was doing some handset testing on the user interface, and I was showing people, look at this, and they were like, that'll never take off. That'll never take off. That'll never work. And I was saying, I think it might. And then I was using Shazam. I was doing some testing with Shazam and
Shazam's an amazing bit of tech,
and I was combining the two to see which I could break, which one would work the best to incorporate into our app. Anyway, it was amazing just to see the digital revolution as the record labels let a lot of their staff go because they had no need for them anymore, and that was quite sad. But we moved into this digital era where the sound quality of a song has gone from 128 to like a fraction of the size, which I did some testing on that to see if the normal people could notice the difference in the quality of sound. And
I'm a sound snob.
Yeah, and it's actually amazing what the brain can, with just not a detailed fingerprint, but every song has a fingerprint, and depending on the quality is the depth of the fingerprint. And you can actually convince the mind by playing a very small, low quality size sound, but it still can be taken as the same for the untrained ear.
At this point, Rebecca, you then, in your notes, and we talked about it, you had a meltdown. Or I had, when I went through my nervous breakdown, I had a wobble. And it took me a long time, about a year, before I could actually say nervous breakdown. Yeah. And although it's not actually officially a medical term and it's not recognised, but I didn't like using that term. So I just said a bit of a wobble, and you had your meltdown. And you can call it the shift, a spiritual awakening, a midlife crisis. There's lots of names for it. But I definitely believe that, looking back on it now, at the time it was the end of the world for me. It felt like my life was over.
Totally.
Now, I see it for a lot of people as a necessary part of a spiritual journey or a spiritual awakening. Yes. If that hadn't have happened when it did, I would not be alive now.
Yeah,
that for me is a fact, because it made me pause, reevaluate, reassess, and start again, because I was way out of alignment.
Yeah.
The way I felt inside and my outward actions in the outside world were nowhere near. They were miles apart. Yes. Now I try and be and act and do how I feel, for my part, my dharma, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Irrelevant of what we do as human beings, we overthink things and follow a logical path, and sometimes you need to ignore that, bypass it, and do something even when it doesn't make any sense.
Yes,
You know,
follow your
follow
heart.
Exactly.
Totally.
So you went through a similar experience in London.
So it came to be, I was working in a digital music company. I was also organising the events, and obviously music companies full of wild people who love to play. So very intelligent group of creative people who all came together, and we were drinking a lot. We were working so hard and we were drinking a lot. And we were partying, and I was still in the cycle from Garland's of being, you know, the party girl. And I was organising all the Omnifunds, we used to call them. We were, you know, going down. Omnifunds who were going down, like, they'd give me a budget and I'd plan a wild party, which included being fancy dress. And, you know, I drove a boat down the Thames dressed as a pirate. We were in a sequined eye mask and feather.
Alrighty.
Like, absolutely brilliant moments. But it came to a point where I just started to ask myself, is this it? I mean, it was fun, but it didn't seem to hold the same, like, it wasn't captivating me life anymore.
There's a big difference between pleasure, which is derived from the external world, and joy and bliss, which comes from inside. And although you can be experiencing a lot of pleasure, quite often people can be inside miserable. You know?
And I started to feel this tug inside that was like, you know, something's off. And I'd started to read a lot of different books, The Alchemist, Celestine Prophecies, you know, Wayne Dyer, all these people. And and the people who were around me as well, we'd started to explore the tarot cards and like looking for other things. And it just all came to a head one day, and I ended up coming to the point where because I had such horrific migraines that I had to go to the doctor, and because my work was impacting my work, so I went to the doctor. The doctor gave me some beta blockers. I've never been one for taking tablets that, you know, other than the fun ones. And basically in work I took 2 beta blockers. I was sitting at my computer and my face went cold on the left side. And I was like, oh, this feeling weird. So I started to Google what I'd taken, and I got a diagram up, and it says that it numbs the nerves here to the forehead, which would help with the migraine because it was right in the third eye. I realised now, at the time I didn't understand about that. Anyway, I went to the bathroom, and the whole left side of my face, all the muscles had stopped working. And I thought I'd had a stroke.
I've had a stroke.
Have you?
Yeah, when I was about 27.
Oh my gosh.
I was paralysed on one side, and it took about six months to recover. And that was terrifying because you think, I might not get better. This might be it. You know, and I couldn't use my arm, and it was horrendous. A long time ago.
It's scary.
It was at the time.
You lose control. So I felt I lost control. I didn't know what to do, and I just sobbed in the bathroom. I didn't even recognize myself. I just felt like such a shadow. And I left the office. I was so confused. I locked myself out of my own debit card. I stumbled to the train, and I knew the train
Sounds like
people.
a stroke. If you say it wasn't, it sounds like one.
No, I think it was the beta blockers. I mean, it wore off after the tablets went.
Okay.
So it was the impact on the tablets. So because I was so confused, I almost fell onto the train track.
Because with a stroke, you become confused as well. You can't think properly.
I mean, maybe it could be, but it was straight after I took the tablet, so I'm not sure. Anyway, I got home, and I obviously had a big chat with myself, and I made myself some promises, and that I was not going to allow myself to become one of these people who are medicated to survive life. I didn't want to be one of those people.
I was on Zopiclone, which is a strong sleeping tablet, and it gets prescribed in 3.5 or 7 milligrams. And I was taking the highest dosage, and usually they will only give you 7 days supply. I was on it for 5 years, and I ended up buying them off the internet because I couldn't get enough of the things, you know what I mean? And when I came off them, I had 3 months of hell and pouring with sweat. It was
really
traumatic, And I made the decision I was never going back there again, you know. So
I just took 2. That was enough. Once my face stopped working, I thought, okay, they're not for me.
Yeah.
So, I made some promises to myself that I wasn't going to let this continue on. And with the books that I'd read, I realized the secret as well. I started to put it into practice, and I thought I'm going to make space for a change. So I decided to say, I'm leaving. This change is coming. I'm leaving. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew I was moving on from this time in my life.
And this is where Australia's your next port of call, isn't it?
I actually met someone, and he suggested going back to Australia. He was Australian. So I said, how can I do this? And it happened so quickly. I got the visa granted.
Alignment.
And
everything
just went, I was like, it's meant to be. So off we went to Australia. You know, it was so sad to leave all my work friends behind because we've become like a family and we're still so close now.
Yeah.
And I got rid of everything I could and had a very emotional goodbye to my family, and off I went to Australia to begin my new life.
I've done that also.
We have very similar.
Where did you go in Australia?
To Sydney, and then south to Wollongong.
So
I went there.
Beautiful place, isn't it?
It's
holds quite mixed memories for me, really, mixed feelings about it, unfortunately, but a beautiful place.
It is beautiful.
This partner you went with, though, and it developed into a situation where he displayed characteristics that you didn't know maybe were hidden, and he wasn't the person you thought he was.
Well, I think that they were, looking back now, they were quite obvious at the time, but loving eyes, they never see, do they? And you can't see what's right in front of you, and people around you can, but they're a little bit wary about how honest they should be with you. And I think if anyone can see that in a person in that situation always choose to be totally honest, because afterwards when they go, I did think that, it's not the best.
A real friend will tell you something you don't want to hear and be prepared for the fact that you might even fall out with them. But then in due course, they will, although it's something they don't want to hear, they'll listen to it. It will probably then have some impact on the mind. They will question things, and usually a couple of months later they come back and go, you were right. You don't want to hear it, and you might attack them, be defensive, because it's not what you want to hear. I've told friends before, I've gone and said, your partner's cheating on you, and they go, what are you talking about? I say, I'm telling you, your partner's, and they'll fall out with you. And then a couple of months later they'll go, you're right. So these things, they happen. And then off you went on your travels. Now, there's so much to cover here, and some of the places I'm just going to list some of the things you've done. And you spent time with Aboriginals. You've been to Indonesia. You've been to Peru and had plant medicine, which includes ayahuasca and wachuma, which I've also had, which I've talked about. I've done a show all about plant medicine. You also went to Guatemala and did cacao. Yes. And you've been travelling over the Amazon, and you've been to the Himalayas, and you brought a dog back with you. I mean, there's a lot to cover there, and we could do a whole show just on this element, but maybe touch on those briefly, part of your journey.
Let's start with the Aboriginals. So when I left this crazy relationship, I actually went first I went to the West Coast and did a road trip with a friend from London and a new Irish friend. So 3 girls traveling in a camper van. So we started.
Road trip.
We started in Perth. We drove down to Margaret River, and then we drove all the way up to Darwin. And in between, we met the Aboriginals when we were in Broome. And it's just the most incredible West Coast. There's so many different landscapes and inland, and we went to the Karijini National Falls, and you can't explain the beauty really with words. You have to feel it and see it.
Aboriginals, as with certain tribesmen, the indigenous people in certain lands, still they can very clearly see that Western man is quite insane.
And they're very in tune people. And it was very beautiful how we met, actually. So I was sitting in the camper van. The girls had gone we were in a gas station. And I was reading, and I just heard this voice in my head say, hey, you. And I thought, we have voices in our heads, a few of them, but I never heard this one before.
We don't always talk about them.
But it was a male's voice, and it was like, hey, you. And I just looked to my right, and There was an Aboriginal man standing at the exit of the gas station looking at me, had a black brim hat on with circular mirrors on, and he had blonde hair and piercing blue eyes, and he was dark skinned, and he's just looking at me. And I couldn't, obviously, he'd said it in my head. It wasn't through my ears that I heard him. Then the girls got back in the camper van. They said, we've just saved this man from being robbed by these Aboriginal girls. So they'd stopped him from being robbed, his van, his truck. And she handed me his business card and she said, he's an elder. And I said, yeah, like that. And off we drove. And he invited them to stay on the reserve with him, come to visit. So the next day we drove there, and it was a 5-hour drive from Broome to Lombardina, and he met us there, and they welcomed us in, and we ended up working there, living there, and we had the most incredible experience. The ranger actually took us all around, showed us all the different places, footprints that were hundreds, thousands of years old, showed us all the plants, taught us their ways, and it was just the most special experience. They taught me how to fish. We all fished at night together. They taught me how to handline fish. They taught me how to spear. I was with the kids spearing, going through, it was like going back in time for me. It was beautiful.
As with Ibogaine, and again with the Aborigine people, and also where we're going to talk about now, which is when you're in Peru, all use plant medicines and hallucinogenic plant medicines as well. Maybe tell us about your experience with ayahuasca.
Yeah, so I travelled to the Sacred Valley in Peru, having spent a lot of time with a friend who recommended me to go there. And I lived there in the valley and met some incredible people, and found an amazing place to experience ayahuasca with a local man. And I mean, it's the most disgusting thing, one of the most disgusting things you'll ever drink. But you have... Did
you obviously vomited and... Some people shit as well.
I actually needed more. I actually needed more, so I had to have more. But, we were in a beautiful ceremony space, all in a circle. He was singing the Icaros, the most gorgeous voice, and his children were there drinking also. It was in the family. And I felt like I morphed into lots of different animals, like from a scorpion up to a bird, a puma, lots of noise, physical noise, movement and noises coming out of me. And it was next level.
Ayahuasca with me, it changed me. It was a significant event in my life. And from that point forward, a lot of things, I believe that when you push in a certain direction for something and you're trying to force something and you've got a preconceived or determined idea about how it's going to happen, it doesn't. When you let go and you say, just throw it out to the universe, cast it off, and then it gets delivered at the speed of light.
Yeah, no expectations.
Once I'd done the ayahuasca, my life just started to fall into place.
Yeah.
Lots of synchronicity and alignment.
Clarity comes, I found, after drinking that.
It took me a long time to process because so much happened in a short space of time. They say 10 years in therapy in one night, don't they? It's equivalent.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's amazing. But my mother had been unwell for several years, and she came over with my stepfather and actually picked her up at Cusco airport in a wheelchair, and we spent 2 months working on getting her better, and she drank ayahuasca with me, and it was amazing because she'd been suffering with chronic migraines, depression, anxiety, social anxiety. She had a sensitivity to light. She was on so much medication that we managed to get her off over the 2 months slowly. The ayahuasca, when she took it, she purged, and I was doing a master cleanse, parasite cleanse with her. And, as you do before you take ayahuasca, you clean your body. She passed a 6-inch tapeworm, which I knew she had parasites from spending time with a doctor when I hitchhiked in Australia, a parasite specialist. I thought, I'm not a doctor, but you're showing symptoms of this. So we were doing this cleanse, and she passed a 6-inch tapeworm.
At the back?
And everything went uphill from there. It was draining her, as parasites, they take your life force. she was grey, she had no energy, her balance was off, and she had all these cravings for meat, sweets, like bread, and then after that, she was so much better. She could walk again. She had no balance. She couldn't stand up very well. And she went home like doing John Travolta, where she'd arrived in a wheelchair looking like she'd been dug up. And seeing that for myself, how powerful it was. And she only drank once.
Yeah.
And it totally impacted her health.
It's important here. We talked about this on the show before in depth, and I didn't go there. It wasn't a recreational pursuit. I went there because I'd tried everything and I couldn't fix certain aspects of my life. And I was always a cloud hanging over me, and I suffered from depression for a while. I had addiction as well with drugs, and I also was on pharmaceuticals, big pharma, I was on Zopiclone and stuff. All of those things, I did ayahuasca the first time, once, and after that, all of those things changed.
Yeah.
People who go there are going there. If you go there and you're just going for an experience of a fun, that's very naive, possibly, and very few people that do that. Most people that go there are desperate. Yeah. They go there because they've nowhere left to turn. And when you get to that point where you're on the edge and you've tried everything, you think, I've nothing to lose.
Yes, totally. And my mom was at that point. And she came home and she was so much better. But I must say it did only last for 6 months, and then slowly, because of her food choices, and I wasn't there to enforce in a way, because it's hard to be strong and continue on the path that I'd shown her. She did go back into the depression, and sadly she's dealing with it, but she wasn't as good as she was with the ayahuasca, and we would like to have done it more, but the way things have been, it's something we will return to in the future. And I believe that will help her. And it can help so many people.
We've covered some of your journey, and you've travelled the world, you've had various experiences, you've experienced taking drugs, as I have, and specifically psychedelics as well. Just part of your journey to this present moment, and we talk about all of these things. Very healthy to talk about it.
Yes.
Then you've arrived, so we're here, and now you're doing change vibration movement. So this is now your business, this is what you do, and it's teaching people to change their frequency and change their experience with the outside world through sound.
So I've been back in England now since 2018, July 2018. And straight away I began working in a yoga studio and doing sound baths. So taking people into induced states of meditation, and when they're in these rested states, I guide them along a journey I create a soundscape to support the journey, forest sounds, and I use my experience of engineering, music production, DJing. There's highs, there's low, there's gentle parts, and then there's deep parts where maybe we go to the fire and we step in and we let all of the onion skin layers peel away. It's become like a therapy. So so that was how it began that way, and then I applied the same techniques to the homeless. So it became deeper, and I started going to Halton Lodge in Runcorn, and sharing it with the homeless people who were
That's a beautiful thing, by the way. It's a beautiful thing.
It was a beautiful experience. At first they were like, oh, I don't know about this, love. I'm not sure about that. Don't know if I'm going to stay. Can't meditate. And then I couldn't bring them round. They were like almost falling off the chairs.
Well, that's spice.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
So
I've tried spice, by the way.
Have you?
I have indeed, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How
Only
was
once.
that for you?
Only once. I don't think I've mentioned this on the show before. I went into Manchester and I brought 2 homeless people back to my house to stay over. I just picked them up and brought them back with me. And they said the following morning, let them stay in my bed. I give them some clothes and food and some money and stuff. And they had some spice with them, and they were heroin addicts. And I smoked the spice with them. And this is a few years ago. Oh. And it was severe. I don't think I'll ever do it again.
I've heard it's severe. I've not tried it myself.
But it put me on the floor. You know. And I wouldn't advise anybody to do it. It's not good for you.
I'm usually the person who will try things a couple of times in case the first time wasn't, but some things no.
I knew on that occasion I probably shouldn't have done it. And afterwards, I definitely didn't want to do it again.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's rife now. There's a homeless guy in Bolton here who I speak to on a regular basis. Most days, he stands at the traffic lights, and the other day he thought he was smoking what he thought was a cannabis joint, and it was spice, and he didn't know, and he fell on the floor, and he cut all his hands open and everything.
No.
So it's
but tragic.
The fact that you're doing this with homeless people, I think it's beautiful, because
it's an amazing experience.
Sometimes what they need is compassion. They need somebody to spend time with them.
Yeah.
Money helps. It can buy them food or drink, and I don't judge people for spending it on drugs or drink, because if I was homeless, I'd probably do the same.
I know. It's escapism, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I feel that it was perfect for them, because what the singing bowls do is they induce a meditative state, which people with busy, crazy minds, chaotic minds, struggle to silence the mind, but the bowls actually bring it to a flat line so thoughts can't come in. Yeah. And then that's the space the body can be in to do the healing.
You said it's like an induced meditation.
Yeah,
I like
induces
that.
meditation. Yeah. So this is why I wanted to come home and share this with people, because when I started traveling in Peru with this bowl Serenity, I realized that I felt it was something magical I'd discovered, and I wanted to share it with everyone. So I started taking it into schools, hospitals, started working with a doctor in Peru who had a whole list of people who were challenging him, asking him for medication, and he wouldn't give it to them. And he said, do you want to try your Reiki and whatever you do with your bowl? And he had no patience. I had all of them, and they'd turn up. He'd say, look at that woman. And she'd be like looking all grey and sad. And he'd say, look at her form. There's nothing wrong with her. I've given her tests for this. She's perfectly well. But look at her. She's not well, and she wants medication. So I fusioned Reiki and sound meditation together, and played the singing bowls over the body, placed them on the body, so they were induced into a meditative state, and then the sound frequencies were actually penetrating them on a cellular level, healing them, realigning the hemispheres, returning the body to its natural state of being. And that was what I started to do in Peru, and I wanted to bring that home and share it here.
For me, a sound bath, I've listened to a sound bath on a stereo. It's not the same. No. You need to be in the room, because then you get the things resonate with you.
It's not just
feel
the ears.
The sound waves hit
Our
you.
bodies are microphones. Yeah. So when we hear the sound, even if the ears are closed, it's penetrating the body. It's vibrating through all the cells, all the organs, the water, the bloods, the tissues, everything. Whereas if you just listen to it, that's why I haven't gone online, although I am going to. It's not the same.
I'm not about that, really. I don't want to go online. I don't do Zoom or an online sessions.
Either.
I was approached to do online sessions for the meditation, and I didn't feel it was, you've got to follow your heart. I don't feel that's for me, Two really important points, I think. When I had a sound bath, and they've been amazing. I've done probably 15 or 16 of them now, something like that. I've done a lot. At the start, there's always a bit of resistance, and I'm uncomfortable, and it really puts me out of sorts. And then there's a point where I let go and just go,
I hear
and then
people do that.
The journey starts then, and I am gone. I'm not in the room. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so I've done hundreds now of ceremonies for people. Especially this one bowl Serenity is paid for hundreds of people. I took it to all different sacred spaces all over the world. And since I've been in Liverpool, working with the homeless, also with Sefton Care Centre, I've been doing sessions for the carers who care for free for friends and family. And it's an offset for the NHS that do this. So we've been exploring altered states of consciousness, going on different journeys, and tears have been flowing. They've, met with their ancestors, relatives that have passed on. They've healed things. They've let things go. We go through, we go to the river. We release anything that no longer serves us. We let it flow downstream. We've stepped into the fire. We've done rebirthing, phoenix ceremonies. We've done all these deep kind of therapy, spoken therapy sessions, fusioned with the sound, healing that's also doing something. And just a beautiful journey, a unique journey for people to experience.
The other thing which you said, which I resonated with straight away, is when I was struggling to meditate, sometimes I get to a certain point, I try all sorts of things. I did transcendental meditation as well. I've done Buddhist meditation and various things. Then if I was really struggling, I'd use external mantra.
Yes.
So I would chant, Om Mani Padme Hum. At this point, that seemed to, I'd meditate, and I get to the point I think, I just can't meditate for whatever reason. Out come the big guns. I get my beads out, I do external mantra, and that sound pushed everything else out.
Yes.
It sort of pushed the thoughts out. And you
totally.
described it like that with the sound bath, where it pushes out the busy mind.
Basically, there is no space for thought when the sound is there. It like clears.
Rather than creating this void where you can still fit stuff in, this empty mind.
And we're in the monkey mind, aren't we? So our minds are going, I need to do that. And it becomes, for some people, that is the challenge, is to have mastery over the mind, to turn down that voice that's really loud and can be quite negative and mean at times, but it's on loud. To turn it down, listen to that voice, the being voice that is a whisper, that's always right, to turn the volume up on that one and to ignore this one.
Sadhguru calls it Merkada, which is Vedic, and it basically means monkey mind, which means two things. It means aping or copying people, and rather than following your heart and your dharma and going from the song within. But secondly, it means unnecessary movement. All this overthinking, all this stuff going on that's just, we need to slow it down.
Slow down. And that's also what I do in the sessions. We begin obviously with the breathing. The breath is the doorway to feeling calm. It helps you to deal with stressful situations in a calm way, and this is what yoga teaches us. So as well as doing the sound meditation, the sound baths, I've also been teaching yoga. So change vibration is vibration of sound, but it's also change vibration movement. It's a change in your vibration through movement also. So we've also been exploring releasing things with the breath as well, moving. So I've been teaching yoga for the council at the gyms, and I've been fusioning a movement and meditation session. So we begin with yoga, and we're moving the body, which is releasing from my training in India, trained in the Himalayan foothills in Rishikesh. I spent 6 weeks training there, doing a yoga teacher trainer's course, and it's just life-changing.
And always has been preparing the body for meditation.
Yeah, exactly.
And yoga is union, isn't it?
Yeah, yoga means unity of the mind, body and spirit. And I think when we realise that, we are the Holy Trinity of three. We have a physical being, we have the energetic being, we have the mental being, and they're not always in alignment together. And through the breath,
in my life, rarely in alignment. I think is
I know correct. It's a daily practice, and nobody's perfect. Nothing is perfect. And when we realise that not everybody breathes properly, we can breathe. Learning how to breathe through the lower diaphragm, how to release things through the breath, how to do fire breathing, to recycle the air that's in the body. And, air is energy. If we don't recycle the air that's in the lower diaphragm, we're not accessing the full energy we can from all the air around us.
When I speak to somebody in the stressed, the very first thing I tell them to do, or one of the first things, is I say, stop what you're doing, breathe. Just breathe. Pause, stop, and breathe. Focus on your breath and bring your attention in and become fully present. Yes. And then you can become aware, because a lot of the things we do, we're driven. And if you forget, your breath's a brilliant way to anchor yourself into the present moment.
And that's the key.
If you get so consumed with the outside world, quite often we're making decisions subconsciously, not consciously. We're not aware of what we're doing, and we're just getting dragged along behind a car. You need to pause and then get in the driving seat and take control again. And your breath is a great way of doing that.
It's a great way to just rest and reset, and not get carried away in all the things that are going on, but ensure that you're going in the direction that you want to go in.
Choose. Also, a Hindu temple, parks and schools. Yes. So I write about Happy Class, about children. The most important thing you can do as a human being in this brief lifetime, when you experience this realm in this spacesuit we call a body, is to experience joy and bliss. And children aren't taught this in school. It's not on the syllabus.
No, they're not. And I spent some time, I was blessed actually to watch the Dalai Lama hold a talk which was the most amazing experience. Yeah. Actually, I took my dog Indy into his temple, and all the nuns and monks came around us because I found him and he had mange and he was half dead. And they all gave him so much love, and it was a beautiful experience. But when I watched him give a talk, one of his main points was that we need to teach children how to deal with their emotions, how to understand when they feel anger, when they feel what to do with this. And I've just believed that is something we should bring into our society and teach the children, because otherwise we end up with a mishmash of adults who are unable to deal with emotions, and that impacts everybody. It's like the ripple effect.
Yeah.
So
the schooling system, unfortunately, the priorities are way out of alignment. And if you go and see a careers advisor, and I say that all careers advisors need to go and get some careers advice.
Get a grip.
because they'll say, okay, what are you getting your best grades at? And then they'll advise you on a career path that's going to make you the most money.
Yeah.
That is not what you should be using for your compass and direction for your life.
The greatest success in life is to be able to spend it in your own way.
Yeah.
And if you can figure out what it is that brings you joy. Like when I was in school, I loved to do art. I remember my family saying, I don't think they realized what they were saying. It was unconscious, but they said, if you become an artist, you'll never have any money. You'll struggle all your life. Where now art is viewed as a important thing, where then it was math, science. What are you going to do to make money? Not what are you going to do to be a happy person.
3 shows ago, I did a show with an artist, a lady called Jill Nicholas, who's just had her exhibition on in the Northern Quarter in Manchester. And her artwork, she's prolific. She paints every single day, and her pictures go for thousands. Big money. So. And she's a beautiful, beautiful lady, lovely person. And art is one of the most valuable things we have. A careers advisor should say, what makes you happy?
Yeah.
What do you do that makes you smile?
Exactly.
That's what you should do.
Exactly, because one of the things I always say in my meditations is our only purpose on this planet is to be happy. That's what the Dalai Lama says.
Your number one job
is
to experience joy and bliss.
Yeah, and just being a human being and our full potential is something that we can explore through our passions. Like, we're all so unique, and we're here to share these unique abilities that we have and to reach our full potential by spending time with ourselves and really fine-tuning what that is, trying different things and realizing who we are and what we can do and what our gift is to the world.
Exactly. Exactly. I've nothing to add to that. That's exactly right. Couple of things another couple of topics I'd like to talk about. And first of all, you have a radio show.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so you're a fellow radio presenter.
I am. So actually came to be when we all sadly lost our friend Joseph this year. Yeah. Joseph took his own life, and he'd been struggling with mental health issues for quite some time. And we tried to help him, but ultimately you can only help yourself. So Joseph left us here, and what happened afterwards is I thought, how can I actually reach more people and touch other people's lives, people who might not go into a yoga studio, or people who might not ever have influences of sound meditation or yoga things. So I sent out group emails to all different radio stations, and Liverpool Community Radio Station got back in touch with me and said, yep, we'd love you to do that. Awesome. So within it was the day after his funeral, I had a radio show, and then I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I've never done a radio show. How am I going to do this? And a little bit of anxiety came in, but it's been great. It's 55 minutes. It's sharing musicians who I think have a powerful message. People that I've discovered when I've been traveling around the world. Also interviewing people who are doing good things in our city and also around the world. And sharing a 15-minute guided meditation at the end. So they've got a little...
You've created this platform. For example, somebody might not go to a yoga class. They might not walk in nature. They might not be very spiritual. But they'll have the radio on the way home from work one day. And they hear your voice.
Exactly.
And you've created this platform for other people who may be like-minded or have a mission of have a message of compassion.
Yes.
You know, helping other people, which is a common chord with everybody that comes on this show. And you've instigated this. It's beautiful.
Yeah, well, it feels so special to be sharing it. And each one has such a different message and a different meditation. And the people who I've been talking to have been wonderful. And I've only done four shows so far, so more to come. Yeah, it's going to be...
I'm expecting them to be incredibly high sound quality with your qualifications.
Well, I'm actually recording them from home at the moment.
Perfectly
not in the studio,
edited.
So,
yeah,
I've been trying my best and using my skills.
WAV format, not MP3.
Totally.
Yeah. So finally, Rebecca, at the end, when we had the conversation with your show notes, and you make a statement about where you're going from here. So we've arrived in the present moment. We see what you're doing now, and then where you're heading. And it's lifting the vibration and giving people the skill set to change their frequency and lifting the vibration of the world. So it sounds bold, but maybe tell us a little bit.
It does sound bold, but it's something that we can each do in our everyday life. Like the ripple effect, we are vibrational beings, and if we're in a good mood, we affect the people around us. So
you so have to read my book. Everything you're saying is in the book. It's just brilliant. Yeah.
Well, we're all tuned in to the same frequency, obviously, you know.
Yeah.
So what I'm working on is creating a training course.
Do you know, this is the first
Vibration.
time we've ever had audience laughter in the background. We've never had that before. We've got a live studio audience here, folks, and Lynnette's providing the odd little laughing at the bits we're not supposed to. And brilliant.
Oh. But yeah, I'm working on a course, a change vibration course, because I realize changing first, be the change, like Gandhi said.
Yeah.
It's
want
so
to see in the
true.
world, yeah.
If you want to see change in the world, the first thing you need to do is change yourself. So I'm a total advocate of this, and I believe, you know, once you've made these changes, then you have the skills and energy to be able to help other people. So I'm working on a course to help people to change their own vibration, and then they can go on to help other people change theirs. I'm also moving into more movement, the change vibration movement. So I'm starting aquatic therapy, which is based on shiatsu movements. So it's a deep session where it's actually moving the body, because the issue is trapped in the tissue. The issue is in the tissue. I learned this in yoga. So when you move, you release issues from the tissues that have been trapped there, because the body has a memory. The body stores physical memories inside of it. So I'm going to be doing deep sessions, fusioned with the singing bowls because they float, in a hydrotherapy pool, doing the shiatsu movements. It's great for mobility issues. It's great for deep trauma, and doing sessions like that, as well as actual sound baths. So you are in a bath, you are in a hot bath. Hydrotherapy pool.
Sound bath in a bath. I'd love some of that.
In a bath.
Yes.
On a floating hammock with a water speaker and the singing bowls that are there. So it'll be a guided sound meditation with some gentle movements in the water as well.
So is this the aquatic therapy?
Yeah. So that's what I'm moving into. And the radio show, the aquatic therapy. I've also just started dance college.
Right.
So, you know, be the change that you want to see and feel in yourself. Like, I wanted to explore, having been a dancer in Garland's, never done any professional dancing, but as a child growing up in Walton, I always wanted to do ballet, but you know, we're a working class family, we didn't have the money for that. And now I realize, like, what do I want to do for me? So I want to learn how to dance, you know, I want to learn ballet, I want to learn jazz, contemporary, commercial. So I've just started training in this.
That's wonderful. And I always say, a lot of people think they're trapped, they get to a certain point and think, okay, this is my lot and I've got to settle for this.
Yeah.
Start today. It's never too late. Change, make some good choices and do what you love.
Yeah, exactly. And I've had a lot of emails of people saying, I didn't know you could do this when you were older, because the girls on my class are all, you know, I'm old enough to be their mother and they've been dancing since they were 6. And
well, if you're older, I'm very old. So you're not actually that old, Rebecca.
No, not at all. And there's no reason to think that, you have to stop learning because you grow older. In fact, you have the capability and capacity to learn more the more we grow. Why not feed the brain, feed our minds, give ourselves something interesting and a new experience to think about, and throw yourself, catapult out of that comfort zone, because that's when you learn the most about yourself. And that's what I learned from traveling around the world for several years, that's when you discover what you're capable of, and under stress and pressure, what you can come up with and what you can present.
Wayne Dyer always used to say, you squeeze an orange and out comes orange juice. So whatever you have inside, that's all you can give out to the world. So if you're put in a stressful situation and you're highly stressed inside, out comes a stressful response. If you're put in a stressful situation and you've got peace, joy and love inside, out comes a peaceful, joyous, loving response. So it's really important to do the inner work and make time for yourself. And a lot of people might think this is a selfish pursuit. Oh no. If you do inner work and make time for yourself, you're doing this because you love the people around you. Because if you want to make everybody else happy and make their lives full of bliss and joy, that's what you need to give them. And in order to do that, you have to be a little bit selfish and you have to look after yourself first.
Totally
Very
agree. It's a really important thing to learn. And another thing as well that I learned from my travels in India is learning how to use yourself as an instrument. We're all instruments. Getting in touch with your own inner voice through toning, mantra, umming, all of these powerful sounds that you can make. After doing an integral sound healing course in Auroville, where they have the most incredible meditation dome called the Matra Mandir, spend a lot of time meditating in this dome, and also influenced by an choir that's been running since the 60s. A beautiful man there called Narand, who basically downloaded information that human beings are meant to open portals with sound. So he created an choir, and for all these years they've been umming, toning together. I went there and I actually recorded it, and I heard different sounds and frequencies that I'd never heard before. I spoke to my music teacher and he said it's polyphonic overtones. And then I went on to study overtone singing, where you can create a different overtone whilst making one tone. You create a higher tone, and it's so powerful for the body. It's healing. It's like the singing bowls, but it's doing it for yourself. We were actually toning into each other's bodies. And the choir, I've felt the energy in the room, and it was like you could feel there was a light in the center. Like sound is light. So this is something that I also want to create in the future and bring people together. And I've also found out on my travels that the earth has chakras like we do on our body. And I went to a lot of the chakras with Serenity and tone the different...
What's your other bowl called?
This is Tara. She's the healing goddess. She's the water bowl.
They have that in Buddhism, the green Tara.
Yeah, this is the
medicine
Buddhist
Tara,
and all the Om Mani Padme Hum. So she's the healing goddess. So I went to the chakras and toned the sounds of the chakras with groups of people. And what I'd like to organize is groups of people toning at the chakra points of earth simultaneously, to, like I do in my sessions, retune the chakras with sound, to retune the earth's chakras with sound as
Vibrate
well.
them, remove any trapped negative energy.
To change the vibration, because the earth is a being, and
Gaia.
And she needs healing too. And I think we're here to help her heal, and she's here to heal us too when we tune in. So it's a give and take, and I think we need to start giving and not just taking.
You look like Wonder Woman, with your headdress, I think.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Linda Carter was the original Wonder Woman, And you look similar as well. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Rebecca, delighted you came on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. As am I.
Yeah, it's been interesting. You've had an amazing life journey. You've got a beautiful energy, a lovely lady. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much too.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Rebecca, if somebody wants to get in touch with you on social media and possibly come and do some of your sessions, how do they do that?
So you can find me on Change Vibration Movement on Facebook and Instagram, or email me directly on changevibrationmovement@gmail.com.
So I'm going to finish the show off with a quote from my book, From Pills to Peace. The music you hear inside is your Dharma. Dance to it. And that simply means to follow your heart, your passion, and do what you love. You are meant to experience joy and bliss on a daily basis, not just now and again, every single day. So you can watch this show every week on YouTube, and then 3 days later, it also comes out as an audio podcast on Spotify, Podbean, and iTunes. You can buy the book on Amazon and various other places in Kindle format, in paperback format, and the audiobook, which is available on ACX and also Audible and iTunes. You can go to the website, midnightmcbride.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And you can listen to the radio show every Monday night on Salford City Radio, 94.4 FM, midnight till midnight, with the Mind, Body and Spirit show from 11 p.m. till 12 p.m. Hope you've enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next time. Shalom.
Here's a demonstration of the power of sound through water, as well as the beautiful frequencies of serenity, my first Himalayan singing bowl.